Hello, this is Make the Nation, where we talk about news, we kvetch about culture, and where we scream at current events, but then we try to turn that scream into a more constructive form of action and optimism. I'm your host, Negin Farsad, and while the Trump administration doubles down on ICE criminality, I double down on the American people. Americans were out this weekend. Over 5 million turned out in over 2,000 protests against ICE throughout the country, and that, my friends, is the real America. Today, we'll talk about the horrific events and political reactions that are inspiring that kind of turnout, and we'll talk about what's happening in Iran. We'll also have some fun with the sushi boom among the elementary school set and the use of AI for dating apps. And folks, the panel that we have assembled for you today is so incredible. First of all, you're joined by a Fake the Nation favorite. He's an alum. He's been on. You love him. He is the host of the Sirius XM show, Tell Me Everything, which you should be tuning into, which parts of, I believe, you can download as a podcast.
It's a free podcast called My Name is the name of the podcast.
And you'll know his name in a moment. He also has a New York Times best-selling book called The Separation Between Church and Hate. And oh my God, I love this book. It's the book I've been waiting for. It is the one and only John Fugelsang. Hey, John.
Thank you so much, Negin.
Oh my God. And John is one of my oldest comedy buddies. So it's always amazing to see you in a room.
Thank you. I hope you don't mind that all I want to do is ask questions about Iran.
Yeah, no, well, and that's the only thing that's coursing through my brain, which makes so much sense that we also have this other panelist joining us. She's forming the Iranian sandwich with me today. She was the CMO of many Fortune 500 companies like Hyatt and Univision, and she is just like has a resume that's taller than me. She has incredible smarts and is now hosting the podcast, The Messy Parts, where you get to hear how amazing she is on your own. I've had the honor of having her be one of my only Persian friends in America. One of my few Persian friends. She is the wonderful Maryam Banikarim. Hi, Mariam.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm having imposter syndrome because, unlike the two of you, I don't have comedy chops, but I'll give it a go.
You know, you have chatting chops. So the double C, as we call it.
I don't have imposter syndrome, but all my friends do. So I like to pretend I do to blend in with them all the time. I'm terrified they'll find out I don't really have it, but I want to belong somewhere.
Peer pressure. Imposter syndrome. I love that. Before we get into the show, I just want to remind listeners that they can go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad to support the show. For as little as $4 a month, you get extra bonus segments of the show. It's where we really let our hair down. So go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad. And thank you so much to everyone at Fake the Nation who is already supporting the show. I blush. My cup runneth over for all of you. And now, let's get into it with topic number 1. All right, you guys, we're going to start light in culture because there's a lot of darkness, but we can't just fucking leap into that just yet because I want to talk about this crazy new phenomenon in culture. I went to a birthday party recently where the thing the kids ate wasn't pizza, okay? It was sushi rolls. I was shocked that that's what the kid wanted because that's her favorite food, and so her parents just made that happen. Now, here we are a few months later. The Wall Street Journal came out with a piece about how sushi has taken over kids' taste buds. So this apparently was not an outlier situation of a 7-year-old birthday party I went to in New York City. And the other thing is I thought it was just like a New York City phenomenon because we're ridiculous. But no, there's sushi all over the place. Have you noticed this trend, and are you surprised? I know you both have kids, but they're not elementary aged right now.
Couldn't we have chosen Minnesota or Venezuela or a less depressing story than sushi at children's birthday parties? I mean, did you have to go that dark to begin with? I mean, this is the apocalypse, right? This is when a 7-year-old says the rice is dry. I think that's when Child Protective Services has to swoop in, right? Pizza built America, and sushi is gentrifying it, right? I mean, you want to hear a 6-year-old say, "Do you have anything without avocado?" This is not the America we fought 2 wars for. No,
there was probably. I just want to say for the record that we're all keeping of everything that I say. There must have been a time in American history where like the main dish at a 7-year-old's birthday party was sauerkraut. Okay, that has to have been a thing.
Sure,
You know what I mean?
parts of Minnesota in the 1800s, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So, I mean, it's like things, they ebb, they flow. I do believe that pizza is still the reigning champion.
No question.
Right? And it's also still my personal, like, in my heart reigning champion.
I'm having a 60th birthday party for my husband, and I'm serving pizza.
That's great.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really
That's
nice.
wonderful.
Because, I mean, isn't that the food we actually all want?
Yes.
How many times have I gone to a fancy event and then afterwards had a slice? That's, you know what I mean?
That's what all
something.
these parents and kids are doing on their way home from the sushi
Right,
birthday
exactly.
party. After you all gather around and watch, the family blow out the college fund, then they can go and get a real pizza on the way home for some calories.
I'm confused because the first time I tried sushi, I must have been in high school. And I remember I thought the fish was alive and I started fighting with it as I put it in my mouth. And my dad looked at me in horror and said, I'm never bringing you here again. You can only eat at McDonald's. Like, it wasn't even a thing, like raw fish. I was like, what?
Well,
is a fish alive?
So,
like, what's happening?
According to the Wall Street Journal, Gen Alpha doesn't have the same raw fish stigma, right? So, and I agree that, like, maybe as a kid you were like, ew, sushi. But, like, that just, I guess they just don't have that anymore. And I also say, like, one of the things I find strange is that my daughter loves salmon. Like, if there was a birthday party with salmon, just cooked salmon, she would be so happy. Just like a nice salmon with like a reduced balsamic.
What happened to chicken nuggets?
Thank
I'm
you.
pretty sure it
I
was
know.
chicken nuggets and pasta in my house for the kids.
Yeah, I mean,
I just have a problem with birthday parties where the napkins are nicer than the children. I mean, like nothing says happy birthday. Like what? See, your parents' faces age 10 years when they look at the catering invoice. Like what?
No, I don't. I don't
It's
think
a class thing, right?
No, I don't think the parents are actually having that reaction because they're agreeing to have these parties.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
who's
But
in
it's
charge?
gotta be a
Who's in
class thing
charge?
is
You
my
or the
point.
7-year-old? I mean, let's be honest, because that
That's
says something about parenting.
that's a great question because sometimes I don't know in my house who's in charge. I definitely tiptoe around all of her needs and wants. You know what I mean?
If I tried to have sushi at a birthday, I know that there'd be a coup in my house and I'd be deposed.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it's wrong. I definitely don't want that. And I also think, and you guys both mentioned money, and is this a class thing? Some parents are going broke for it because it's like an aspirational class thing, right?
It's
like
peer pressure.
It is. Well, and can I just say that, like, in general with birthdays, especially in New York City, and I don't know how this is in other cities, but there is pressure for the birthday to be cool in a way that costs money, right?
You don't say.
Well, it is New York City. I think the first.
But I mean, I just the birthday parties I went to in my youth, it was just kids in a living room. There was nothing special in any way about the birthday parties I went to. There was maybe a pin the tail on the donkey moment at some point. Otherwise, but now it's just like you have to send them to this like $1,000 like trampoline fantasy land and stuff like that. It's like it's really expensive.
Yeah, it seems like a class anxiety. I mean, look, if all the children enjoy sushi, then have a great time. For me, when a 6-year-old says this eel is commercial grade, I mean, society has failed. That's all it says to me.
But I guess my bigger question is who would be willing to talk about that and be quoted in the Wall Street Journal and not have a I'm a Marie Antoinette moment about that?
Well,
Sorry, as a corporate comms person or somebody who
Yeah.
has
Right.
given people advice, I'm like, don't give that interview because you'll seem out of touch, which you are given what's happening in the country.
Thirsty, money-hungry people with no self-awareness. I mean, America has a couple of those.
You might want to skip that interview. Maybe that's not one to give. I don't know.
But also, sushi rolls are like in the supermarket, right? Like you can get sushi rolls from Key Foods, and so
Yes.
I feel like it's crossed over into like this is not the like $100 tasting menu. This
That's
is
true.
I do feel like it's
Although
changed.
I read that they had omakase for some of those kids, so like
Right.
maybe there's a range.
Those families need to be stopped. Definitely, omakase should not be
All
a
right.
part
Well,
of
I'm
anyone's
converted. I'm
vocabulary.
going to take my whole family down to the gas station and get some sushi later on.
Yeah, Yeah, like if it is a 7-Eleven grade sushi, I'm kind of like, that's fine.
With the big gulp dysentery attached. Yeah, I just
7-Eleven in Tokyo is where you get the really good sushi.
Really?
Yeah. My son lived there for a summer, and he had a lot of 7-Eleven sushi.
All right. I would love for that sushi to come to the 7-Eleven near you in America. All right. Oh, by the way, the reason the kids love the sushi, part of the reason they've discovered is that there's sugar in the rice.
What?
Which I didn't realize.
I didn't know
There's
that
sugar
either.
in the rice. That's part of what draws the kids to it. Yeah. So it's not all highfalutin taste buds. All right, let us move on to another point in culture. There's a new AI dating service. It's called Keeper, and basically it's using AI to connect users with their perfect match. And if the match leads to a real relationship, then you pay the intro fee. And if you end up getting married, you pay $50,000. You answer a ton of questions, so the AI has stuff to work with. So it seems to be really, it takes hours to fill out this application. What do you guys think of the use of AI in this kind of matchmaking world?
Sorry, I was not familiar with that story. I went down the Google rabbit hole on that, and I just love the image of the three founders, sort of three tech bros telling you about love. I love that there was a matchmaking bounty of $50K because I met a friend who told me that she has a friend from HBS who's now a professional matchmaker, and she charges $1 million on a bounty to land you the right person.
What?
So $1 million, and also apparently she prefers males because it's easier to find people for men than for women. So she told her friend she should go find somebody else, and that person charged $500,000.
What?
Apparently, like if you can land the deal, there's a BD. Maybe we should all become matchmakers.
This is wild. So wait, so she is using her Harvard business degree
That's correct.
to be a matchmaker.
Yeah, Yenta, exactly.
Oh my God. And is
We
she
should all
using
rethink.
AI? Is she using AI?
No, I think at the $1 million level, maybe she's not
You're
using
like,
AI.
really, you're just using your actual brain. Right, okay.
Well, it's like being a headhunter except for dating. It makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Russell
Do
Reynolds or
headhunters make that
Hydrix.
much money?
Headhunters do at
I
that
don't know
level
it. I
make
don't
a
know
lot
anything.
of money.
Yeah.
You're welcome that you have a corporate person at the
Yeah,
table.
yeah, thank you.
And I will say it's a good idea to turn that Hydrix background into yenting. Wow, what would that be like?
yeah,
Jesus
except
Christ.
now we have a robot to do the ending for us. That's
Yeah,
what
that
this
was a
is
little
about.
disturbing.
I wonder, I mean, do you, how, if they were to go through your entire shit online presence, by the way, just for listeners, you can choose from an exhaustive list of political affiliations as you answer these questions, right? It's not just conservative, progressive. It's like all of them. Neoliberal or neo-Nazi is an option. You can list your, this is weird, ideal ethnicity. You obviously, you list your height, your ancestral background, your SAT scores, your feelings about entrepreneurs. I don't even know what that question means.
It sounds like this is what we've always had. It's just another form of computer dating. Just,
Yes.
if you can find an algorithm that really appreciates you for you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my dream, just an algorithm that understands me.
Who sees the real me.
And knows the music I want to hear next. That's all I ask for.
Right. So do you feel like if you feel like Spotify has been right about the song you want to hear next, do you feel like the same type of algorithm could be right about the mate you want to marry next?
Shockingly, no, I do not. This is romantic escrow. This is just. It's hard enough to meet people, and it's great that I know that what true love really needs is a lot of venture capital to make it happen. And I'm not anti-AI per se, but wow, I don't see how this is any different, and I don't see how it's going to help people avoid the same kind of disappointment. You got to be in the room with the person. You got to be able to smell them and hear their voice and understand what they're like and their vibe. You can't go just on paper. It's great to meet people, but to me, I don't necessarily see the advantage of this over speed dating. I mean, I read this article and I'm like, oh my God, Jane Austen just deleted herself from the cloud. It just seems like they keep finding ways to make it less romantic.
Yeah. It does.
It's not
I'm a
romantic. It's
big
not
fan of-
romantic, but it's definitely a framework. It's very like, how do I get from point A to point B in the fastest possible way?
But for me, it's not about getting. If point B is romantic love, it's not about getting there in the fastest possible way. Because to me, there's the fastest way and there's the best way, and the best way involves getting out of your house getting away from screens,
Yeah.
being in the world, gentlemen, being excellent at something and letting ladies see you be excellent at something. This is what matters. The old rules of courtship are always going to be more powerful to Homo sapiens than an algorithm's idea.
I hate to say this, but being drunk at a bar.
Being drunk at a bar.
Is like I think you could pay $50,000 for this, or you could just go be drunk at a bar.
No, this is about deal making. You're making it out about romantic love. And this is actually about landing the spouse and closing the deal.
Okay.
Right?
That's
Which may be different than romantic love.
You're
What
right.
I miss
I'm
is
tragically
serendipity.
20th century with this stuff. I'm sorry.
What I
that
miss
makes
is
so much sense.
serendipity because maybe you don't know what it is that you actually need in a partner, right?
Exactly.
And that is what's missing because it actually requires you to have an incredible amount of self-awareness besides all the characteristics, which I thought were totally crazy.
I don't want someone
system.
just like me. I want to be around someone different than me. I want to have someone who fills my gaps. And, I've been around people like me. It's no fun.
Someone who fills your gaps is just, anyways, the title of your porn.
Indeed.
But
that's another thing I'm looking for.
No, that's Shel Silverstein, the missing O. I'm taking you back.
But I think it's interesting because that idea of like you don't know what you're looking for, right, is really interesting to me personally because I was hell-bent on not ending up with someone in the arts. I was like, oh, no. I have to be with someone stable who has like a real job and of course I end up marrying an actor. So I do think, and it ends up making so much more sense because then everyone I dated who had real jobs just didn't understand my passion for this job, and it always led to conflict.
Really?
And so it makes sense that I ended up with someone who totally
You needed a gypsy. You couldn't have a responsible adult. I get it.
couldn't have a responsible adult. Exactly. And we met at a party. I mean, we met because we had the same acting coach. It gets worse. It's like we were both. It's like such an industry. I was embarrassed by how we met because we have the same acting coach and she threw a party. I was like, can we just tell people we met online? You know what I mean? Like that.
I met my husband on the subway, so there you go.
Nice.
Did you really?
Yes, 116th Street subway stop. I mean, we were in school together, so I recognized him from class, but on the subway.
That's really cute. All right.
So no AI involved.
Yeah. I mean, but it's great that there's a robot that'll match someone's jawline to someone else's SAT score.
By the way, Mariam, you mentioned the three dudes. They look like the three dudes that you think that they look like, right? They're wearing hoodies and like whatever.
I was like, is this a meme or is this actually real?
Yeah, I know. It felt like it was AI generated broligarchs or whatever.
And I'm not against this per se. I mean, I think I used to be afraid of, a wife leaving me for a machine. Now it takes a machine to find a wife, I guess. But I just feel like whatever works, it's all of the above, whatever it takes to find the right person. And some people are right for a year or a season, not necessarily a lifetime.
Yeah.
But so I'm not opposed to this. I just think it's never going to replace getting out of your room and being around people.
Yeah.
And making mistakes and being awkward and having those experiences.
I think the underlying issue is that there's a loneliness epidemic,
Amen.
right? And
Yeah.
so people are losing how to actually communicate and make friends. When you go into an elevator, everybody's looking at a device. Before, you'd get an elevator and you might actually meet somebody.
Yeah.
Now, nobody looks up. And that's true on the subway, when you walk on the street.
Yeah.
And I think the underlying thing that we're seeing, which is why people are seeing it as a business opportunity, is that they don't actually know how to connect anymore. And to your point, the old-fashioned way, which is why you're seeing so many people join Gaia Collective and sing together, go to this reading, read together at a bar. It's like the things that we grew up with that were basics are now no longer a thing.
We used to be a nation of joiners.
Yeah.
Robert Putnam wrote about this in the book Bowling Alone. We had bowling leagues. We had malls when we were kids. We had roller rinks. We had places that we went and saw other people. And now, of course, it's send.
Well, there's a lot written about third spaces, and you're right about Bob Putnam. But I think if you go to a third space, you have to put your device away. Because if you're in a third space
and it's funny because you get social anxiety.
Yeah.
Yes, literally yesterday I was having lunch. It was kind of like a work lunch type thing, and instead of the dude had to go to the bathroom for a second, right? I immediately took out my phone to see if someone had called or whatever. And then I was like, let me just scroll through some emails. And then I was like, what if I just force myself to stare at the fucking walls and just like eavesdrop onto their conversations or whatever. And so I put my phone away and I literally just like forced myself to do that. And the social anxiety will get to you to the point where you then take out your phone. You're like, no, I'm so important. I'm so busy. I'm looking at something. And
That's
it's
right.
hard. It's hard to
hard.
like fight that urge
Well,
and to
it's-
be like, no. I'm actually not important. I'm not busy. And I'm staring at the wall.
It's like a little piece of reassurance in your pocket that you don't actually need. You can have vape pens for that, folks. Just get high instead, please. But I mean, I just feel like good will come from this.
Right.
And there's lots of wonderful people who are alive now because their parents met through the internet. So I have nothing against that. I just think this is the latest chapter in how hard it is to find real love. And you have to make a lot of mistakes. And sometimes they'll involve Hal from 2001 setting you up with the wrong person.
Well, I want to close this segment by saying that one of the founders said, quote, "If the woman is about half a standard deviation more agreeable than the man, that's the optimal point for relationship durability." So there you go, guys. There's some, that's a note for you on how love works. It's about half a standard deviation more agreeable for the woman. All right.
Ideal ethnicity, though. I mean, wow. That's if you're
Those words had never come to mind when I thought of a
ideal
partner.
ethnicity.
Yeah,
It's-
look at the New York Times article on this. It was very eye-opening, folks. Okay, let us take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about darker things. And we are back, and we're ready for topic number 2. So. Let's talk about Iran. Protests by Iranians against the regime have been met with a severe crackdown. And again, the estimated, I don't know. I saw numbers that were like 1,500. I saw numbers that were like 2,000 dead, 3,000 dead.
I saw 12,000 dead.
Yeah, I saw that number too. So we obviously have literally no idea. I've been getting messages from friends and stuff like, how's your family doing? And I posted something online yesterday that was basically like, I have no fucking idea how my family's doing. That's the reality because they shut down the internet. So I haven't gotten any news up until literally an hour before walking into the studio. I just got an email that was like, I spoke to your uncle and they're fine. They managed to get a call out. And then I immediately called to see if I could get them on the phone, and I couldn't. But they're fine. They also, so this was a cousin who emailed me, sent some just videos of a person walking down the street, like just filming the dried blood of, because they're just sort of like, we don't know because the information isn't clear, but they're just sort of like summarily murdering people who are coming out to protest. The crackdown is really, really severe. And so anyways, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, it's tragic. Like you, I wake up in the middle of the night and check for news because we're back again. It feels like once again there's protests and once again they're going to be tamping them down. And these are hardliners, right? And so the way they tamp down is by bringing out the guns and threatening executions, which is definitely what we're beginning to hear about. I think it's not the first time, right? It's been over 40 years since the Iranian Revolution, and every few years we have this. Is this the breaking point? It's hard to know. There's tons of misinformation, but it's honestly so tragic. And you have to have nothing to lose to be willing to go out on the street like that.
True.
It's interesting because you have to have nothing to lose, and I feel like they all think they have nothing to lose. One of the things that my cousin said was like, the people are tired and quite critically, they're hungry. Because that's the other thing that, we sort of forget in the middle of all this. The reason why these protests started is because inflation went out of control.
The food prices have been insane.
The food prices have been insane. The currency collapsed. And so the storekeepers have shut their doors. And then literally people also don't have food, although we don't even know the extent of that, right? Because
the government gave everyone a bottle of cooking oil, and that was it.
Yeah, the government tried to buy everyone off with $7 of
$7.
like a stimulation package kind of thing, and that was obviously not enough, and so the people came out, and so there's this element of not being able to provide really, really basic essentials to family members, and so that's the feeling of you really have to have nothing to lose, and I think that you're looking at 90 million people thinking that we really have nothing to lose. The regime has about a 10% support, and then 90% of that is people who want them gone. And the other thing that that my cousin said was, again, this is like, I'm like reporting on email from my cousin, but like, I don't have any information that's like, I feel like all the information is as useful as this email from my cousin. She just said that like everyone's just sort of waiting to see if Trump will do something. And that's the other weird feeling I have is it possible for the worst man in the world to do something that could be useful in this situation?
I think everybody's looking at his tweets, right? Because he is on social media often commenting on things. And I think there's a lot of people on the outside who have this hope, but I do think that there's a very different reality on the ground in Iran than for the diaspora, of which there's many different kinds, as we both know, in our Iranian community on the outside. Mm-hmm. You can be hopeful that there can be freedom and a different kind of experience for people who live in Iran. I don't know how the U.S. is going to be able to step in and manage that on top of running Venezuela and then taking over Greenland. I mean, it's a lot to take on, not including what's happening here in the U.S.
And it also feels a little bit like this Venezuela thing. It's like he can only, I don't know how much MAGA also will support action. Do you know what I mean? They already probably don't support Venezuela that like comes into this conversation.
Like Trump with Putin, they'll do as they're told and believe what they're told to believe. And a big factor here is what does Vladimir Putin want to let Donald Trump do? The other big factor is that Donald Trump can't stop lying. And he only he despises Muslim people unless he's making money off of very wealthy ones. Mm-hmm. And this has been consistent. And it's really tragic that we have to deal with an American right wing that despises Muslims and is now in an awkward position of pretending to care about a revolution against extreme fundamentalist conservative religious leadership. We're not taught the history of Iran in this country. We white kids are not taught that Iran had a thriving democracy. And under President Eisenhower, our CIA did the coup, got rid of your president, brought in the Shah, who was, to many, their Hitler. The religious kooks took over when we were kids. We were never told we were the reason that the religious kooks took over. And now we've watched the fundamentalism for all these years and all this cruelty. In 2010, I really thought it was going to happen. Yeah. I really thought the students were going to make it happen back then. But I just finished writing a book about religious fundamentalism. And what our atheist friends get wrong is that it's not religion that's responsible for all the oppression of women and all the torture of gay people and all of the patriarchy and control. It's the fundamentalist wings of all religions. As we've discussed many times, the vast majority of moderate and liberal Christians, Muslims, and Jews are getting along just fine, being groovy right now, not causing problems. The fundamentalists who oppress women, who oppress gay people, who commit violence, they get all the ink, they get all the airtime. So Americans who are in resistance to this administration, which is Christian nationalism, which is based in a fundamentalist version of Christianity that has nothing to do with the actual teachings of Jesus, but is all about conservative religious control over society. People resisting the Trump administration should be thrilled to see what's happening in Iran because it's the same struggle. Obviously, it's a lot longer and a lot more fundamentalist. But, when you have conservative religious control over a country, it's Sharia law there, Scalia law here. I've waited my whole life to see this happen. It's so moving. And Donald Trump is capable of doing the right thing for the wrong reason. The concern there would be America has to support regime change, but America can't get involved with nation building or resource extraction. Mm-hmm. And resource extraction is the only reason we're in Venezuela. So there's no reason to believe these men would not make any help for the Iranian people highly conditional on raping the natural resources.
Well, there's a lot of oil in Iran, right? And if you go down sort of who has the most oil in the world, Venezuela, Iran's, I think, number 3. And I will say, as a kid who was in Iran during the first revolution in '79, there was a lot of excitement and energy and a lot of tragedy. Yeah. And we're watching brave people once again speak out, knowing that there's a price to pay when you speak out in a pretty severe way. And it's disheartening. I am no expert on all things Iran, other than obviously being from there when I was little. But I think it's really disheartening to see they're brave. They go out into the street and people are willing to put them down at a pretty severe way. It's a burn it to the ground kind of mentality, which generally, sort of governments like that are. And then it comes again a few years later. And people are impacted. This is real. It's like it happens to people's kids and families.
And why, the Revolution 1979 was a bloodless revolution is because the military did refuse to ultimately kill their compatriots.
It wasn't totally bloodless, because I do remember incidents coming back and having the newspaper covered people with blood. But I do think the military
relative to this.
Yes,
yeah.
but I think the military is key, right? I think the Shah fled, and 10 days later he put somebody in charge, and 10 days later the military basically said we're done. There was a lot of coordination that happened between people. I think this government has been very effective at breaking that kind of partnership down, and so you don't actually have a lot of other kinds of people who had the way in to actually set up a counter narrative or a counter group. The minute somebody comes up who might be a threat, they seem to be gone. So I think it's just a little bit harder than it was for the group that showed up in 79.
Right. As an Iranian, though, Mariam, are you hoping that Trump militarily intervenes?
As an Iranian, I want there to be freedom in my country. I worry about outside intervention, because to your point, the last time there was outside intervention and they got rid of Mossadegh and brought the Shah back, that was actually the beginning of a lot of the complicating factors that the unintended consequences only play out later. Nobody wants somebody else to come into their country and tell them what to do. We don't want that here. Right? I don't want somebody in my neighborhood to show up and tell me how I should live in Chelsea.
Yeah. And 70 years ago, America changed the regime because of oil. That is the reason why America would get involved in regime change today, not because this administration cares about the people of Iran.
But I do think in countries where there is, strong men and other people don't have a voice, support in different ways can sort of help bring about change.
Yes.
I don't know. Nobody loves paternalism and having somebody sort of show up and tell you what to do. We don't like it here. Nobody likes it anywhere. So I worry about the consequences of that, but it's been over 40 some years. And what I would like is to not see people get hung. It just seems, using your voice. By the way, I don't want that here. That's actually one of the reasons I'm grateful to be here in the United States, is freedom of speech and being able to protest, and that being one of your rights, which is under attack here now as well. So I worry on many levels.
Yeah, it's so fucking complicated. I worry on many levels. Like, one, I worry. First of all, I'm so impressed that the Iranians are brave, and I hope that my family is cowards, right? Like, I have that competing feeling. I just want them to be at home, not in harm's way, but at the same time, I'm like, go and fight for your freedom, right? So that's weird, a weird feeling. The other weird feeling, if Trump has actual ability to stop this, which I think of literally any country, he's the one that does. I'm so exhausted on behalf of the people of Iran. Like, I see the exhaustion, I hear the exhaustion. It's like you guys. I've dreamt of this regime being over. It's the only thing I've known, and it is like, I remember like at 7 years old visiting Iran and being like, this isn't right. Right?
Yeah.
Why does my mom have to put on that outfit to walk outside?
Google photos of women in Iran before they took out Mossadegh. It's incredible.
Yeah. No, and so this, and then at the same time, I also worry about the aftermath, the chaos, the possibility for even more danger. Democracy is not built into the DNA of Iranians the way it is here.
I'm not sure it's built into our DNA either. We're fighting for it here too. And I don't know what taking the leadership out would mean. Are we talking about
what does it mean?
Just sanctions and air power? Because I do not see boots on the ground of American troops in the streets of Tehran.
Democracy depends on a strong middle class.
Yeah.
That is a thing,
right?
And I think that we don't have that in a lot of other countries, because you have a very powerful, small upper class, and then a lot of people who can't afford living, which is really sort of an issue. And I remember in 79, I lived in Iran at a time where not everybody had to wear a hijab, but I also remember visiting the woman who cleaned the house, and she lived in a tiny little house with 7 people and barely could afford to live, right? We had that discrepancy back then. That's what made it ripe for the revolution, let's be honest. And
And also they had fewer civil rights and people like the secret police that would disappear journalists and anyone who
100%.
spoke
Yes,
out. And
yes.
I had members of my family that were literally detained by the Shah's regime. So that regime also, sucked. So it's, yeah, okay. Well, we don't know.
None of us are experts and we don't know. That's my favorite. But what I do want to stop is for just this mass killing where we just, I wake up in the middle of the night and I check my feed to see what update has come out, which, as you've said, there's been a blackout and landlines were down, not just the internet.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to be untrendy. I know Islamophobia and anti-Semitism are both wicked popular in America right now. But for me, the dread is that, or maybe the hope is that this is an opportunity to teach white Americans who have been taught their entire life to hate Iran and Iranian people and Muslim people that, no, man, your problem is with extreme conservative fundamentalist religious authoritarians. That like here. And if you don't like the Ayatollahs, why would you lean into the Jerry Falwells?
And it is one of those two things too, where you're like, if you talk to someone who leans into the Jerry Falwells, you could picture them being like, man, those people in Iran are crazy. And not see themselves in that, hoping for that kind of ultimate.
It doesn't matter what
when you play it out.
It doesn't matter the religion.
Fundamentalism is that.
Religious fundamentalists, Hindu, Jewish, Christian, women are always second-class citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Sex is usually bad if women or gay people are enjoying it, unless it's for procreation. Violence is okay if our side does it, because God likes us better. Sorry, that's just how it is. In fundamentalism, there's always this focus on punishment over healing, and there's always in fundamentalism, especially in Christianity, the victim narrative, the persecution Jones, that, well, people were bad to us, so I get to be horrible to other people. These 5 traits unite fundamentalism of all religions. And the moderate and liberal Christians have more in common with the moderate and liberal Muslims than they do with the ultra-conservative Christians. And I pray that we figure this out.
Maybe if I was more religious, I would have had so much more certainty, because it seems like there's a lot of certainty in knowing you're right and other people are wrong. And I generally feel like I know nothing. So I come to the table as like, I know nothing. There's a lot of gray.
Let's all figure it out.
But the bigger thing I want to say is, like in Iran, as in many places, the government and the people are 2 separate things.
Amen.
And I think that people often think that's one thing. Like, oh, whoever's in charge is representative of the people. Oftentimes people will go to Iran and say, oh my God, the people are so nice. They don't hate Americans.
No, and they're
Which
very
they don't.
secular. That's the other thing that
very
people are
secular.
really shocked by, is how secular
highly
Iranians
educated.
are. Yeah.
A highly educated
They're
population.
actually like, honestly, I think of them as like tan Americans. Like they're so, they will, first of all, they love a nose job, okay? They love Botox. They love, you know what I mean? It's like they are essentially like really
And it's
smart.
a young country, too. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
The majority of the population is under age 50. More than 50% is under age 50.
And they're
Iran
also
could be like the next Tel Aviv for the whole country.
Totally. They're also overeducated. Iran could be the next Europe. These cities are old and beautiful. There's stuff in there. It's
Imagine
like
the
you could
tourism
literally,
economy.
it could be like another Italy.
I'd
if
always prayed that Barack Obama would go to Iran, that an American president in my lifetime would just go there in fellowship with the Iranian people and not make it about kissing the ring of these mullahs. Just go there for the people.
Well, there was a
I always
moment.
hoped we'd see it happen.
Obama had a moment where I had a friend actually who was a blonde American, traveled and came back on just a tourist visa. There was a moment. There was a glimmer. But again, I think we all just want hope, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody sort of deserves a different way of living and not in fear, which is how people seem to be living on a day-to-day basis. And also being able to feed your family. Like, these are basic things.
These are basics. Well, let's, speaking of hope, let's talk about what's happening in the United States. After we taped last week, the news broke about Renee Good, who was murdered by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. By this point, we've all heard about the brutality and seen the videos. The Trump administration has also seen those videos, but they've doubled down on the side of the ICE agent. And in fact, after last weekend's peaceful protests all over the country, have deployed even more ICE agents to Minneapolis. Oh, what the fuck is happening? Fugelsang, what do you think?
They had a chance to nip this in the bud. Donald Trump could have actually listened to an advisor and come out and said, wow, this is awful, it's tragic, she's dead. Let's have an investigation and see what turns out. Now, if they had done that, they would have shut up the liberals, they would have shut up everybody, and they would have bought themselves some time. But they're not smart people. So instead, the amount of lies already told by Donald Trump and by Kristi Noem and by J.D. Vance, the amount of demonstrably stupid lies they've all told. From Trump, if she wanted to run him over, she would have run him over. She did not. Trump said the man was in the hospital. We saw him jogging back and forth like he just finished his CrossFit workout. I mean, Kristi Noem calling her a terrorist. And I guess shooting people violating DHS law is law and order. J.D. Vance couldn't stop lying about this, making up lies about her being part of a shadowy left-wing cabal. And then they released the video of that Officer Ross shot, because you got a cell phone in one hand and a goddamn gun in the other. And this showed that he was humiliated by a woman. He was humiliated by women, and then he was so traumatized by being run over by a car. He was so in shock and so terrified, his first words were "fucking bitch" after murdering this woman. That, to me, says, oh, wow, maybe this is a hate crime. But for the first time in the DOJ's history, the Civil Rights Division was not invited to investigate. Every time a cop shoots a citizen, the DOJ Civil Rights Division is supposed to swoop in. They were not invited. They have frozen out the Minneapolis law enforcement from investigating any of this. Kash Patel's douchebag FBI is running all of this right now, and we know the government's lying. So this means, best case scenario, history will record this as being a government cover-up of the murder of an American citizen. And there is nothing any of them can do to change that reality. They could come out right now and say, let's have a full investigation. Please bring in the Minneapolis people. The smartest thing Trump could have done would have been to cut this one guy loose. Yeah. They're not smart people. And as a consequence, this is how they're going to set themselves on fire, because this is not, this choice to protect this man will not become more popular as the months go on.
Right. So, Mariam, do you think, like, for people who maybe voted for Trump, and I'm not talking about, like, the intense ones. I'm talking about the people who, like, I voted for Trump, you know? Does it make sense? Like, it, as Fugelsang says, do you think this is going to, like, turn out to be very politically unpopular?
I think we live in two worlds. Right? We see certain videos, they see certain videos. I mean, that is sort of the thing that really strikes me often, is that all of a sudden you're just getting fed, going back to sort of the algorithm conversation, videos that you want to see. And so there are other people who believe a different narrative, and they're being fed a different narrative. And I'm going to counter John and say, it's really wrong to think of other people as not smart, because actually they're quite smart.
I would say that Donald Trump is cunning. I wouldn't call him wise. And I would say that Kristi Noem is not smart.
Well, wise is a different thing. I mean, I just think, like, you don't get to win in these ways by not being smart and having a plan. There's clearly been a plan that they're deploying. In this instance, I agree with you. I mean, it seems so black and white. I'm glad the prosecutors actually resigned, right?
Yes, Minnesota and federal.
That was a thing. I worry with more people being sent in, right? This is like a powder keg, and it's just going to get worse as we're seeing. But by the way, it feels like, what is the point of this? Is this a distraction strategy that's being deployed? Because
they want to cancel the midterms.
People used to say, oh, it's, they're after immigrants or people who are not from here. But now even a U.S. citizen is no longer safe. I mean, I see so many videos of people being picked up without, and having papers and being legal. And that doesn't even seem to mean anything. But I worry about sort of this militarization of this country, honestly. And as somebody, again, who was a kid, 11, right in the middle of martial law and things like that, that's not the country that this is. And so I worry on a regular basis as to where we're going.
And if I may, none of this is about immigration. This is about white people becoming a minority in this country in the year 2045. If they wanted undocumented border crossings to stop, they would arrest the white people who offer them jobs, like Donald Trump. They cross the border because there is a gigantic help wanted sign at our border. Donald Trump himself is protecting undocumented workers in the agricultural sector because he knows if you drove them all out, the food prices would go up. Our way of life depends on exploitation of marginalized labor. And there's thousands and thousands of undocumented Irish and Russians in this country. They're not chasing the Irish and the Russians around church picnics and throwing them in alligator Alcatraz. I don't really see a lot of illegals who look like me who are being persecuted. But the interesting thing here is this happened the day after the 5-year anniversary of January 6th, when Ashley Babbitt, who is dead because of Trump's lies, and now we have this woman who is dead because of Donald Trump's lies. And obviously these people don't think the cops on January 6th should have taken out their guns and shot everyone. But they think this cop should have taken out his gun and shot someone. And it seems like a disconnect. The same disconnect when you see, how can these right-wing friends always support anytime a cop shoots an unarmed black man. They'll always support the cop. But then they'll cheer for cops being beaten on the Capitol steps. How does that work? How can you be back the blue and then go to fuck the police? And it's completely consistent. Along with this is authoritarianism. If the white cop shoots an unarmed black guy, authoritarian folks are going to defer to the authoritarian all the time. The cop had to be right. The cop had to be right. But if that same cop who I cheered shooting a 14-year-old boy running away, if that cop is now in the way of a bigger authoritarian, if this cop is doing something trifling like protecting democracy instead of authoritarian shit, well, then that cop needs to be beaten up for Mr. Trump. And it's the same thing here. They can't stand the thought of a cop shooting a woman who's part of a violent mob beating cops invading the Capitol to violently overturn an election. But they love the thought of a cop shooting this unarmed mom who turned her wheels to the right to get away. It's completely consistent. This is authoritarianism. This is the opposite of everything the world's great religions tell us, and this is what unites Trump supporters.
I think those visual images of sort of the militarization, the mask covering, I mean, these are things that are really not what this country is about. And I say this as somebody who was fortunate to come here and now call this home. I think of America as really a country of immigrants. I mean, that we were the melting pot, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not. It's people say to me like, "Oh, Iran, if it opens up, will you move back?" Like what? What are you saying? Like I really like. I'm now an American, and
Wouldn't you agree the truth is that we're both? We are a melting pot of immigrants, and we are xenophobic racists. We are slavery, and we are the abolitionist movement. We are Bob Dylan, and we are Kid Rock. Like everything that's wonderful and awful about humanity is both turned up to 11 in this country, and that's why I find it so fascinating. I mean, we're the only country where our history of Christianity is inseparable from a history of white supremacy. No other country has those two histories completely entwined. So just as the fiendishness of Americans never shocks me, the grace and love and kindness and empathy of Americans never shocks me either. And I have to believe there's more of us.
Well, and I have to say, too, that Chris Murphy, again, talking about turning these kind of feelings into action, Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut, is going to propose a bill that'll restrain DHS. This is ahead of a funding lapse set for January 30th. And, basically he wants DHS to get rid of masks, all the things that he doesn't want this kind of shit to happen. Now, my question is, Mariam, does this feel like a little bit uncomfortably close to abolish ICE? I mean, part of we had a marketing problem with abolish ICE, right? And now here we are again where we're like, now, okay, let's just like minorly defund ICE, or let's have some rules on what they can do.
Reform ICE.
Let's reform ICE. Where do you think that leaves Democrats with this kind of like marketing question about this kind of proposal?
Well, I generally will say the Democrats, and again, as somebody who's been an independent her whole life, have not been very good at marketing. And honestly, the anger is on both sides.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think anger is reserved for just one side of this equation. The affordability issue is real. And I don't know that the Democrats have been so great at solving that problem, right? There's a lot of injustice on all fronts. And this sort of goes back to your point about Bob Putnam and bowling alone. I think trust is at an all-time low in this country for lots of understandable reasons. And we need to actually like regain our humanity and be able to disagree respectfully. I mean, that is sort of what we're supposed to be all about. So is it a marketing problem? Look, I just think like nobody wants to feel terrorized. Like if somebody's doing something wrong, why do you have to arrest them with a mask on your face?
Exactly.
Like guns a-blazing, putting them on the ground in a chokehold. Like nobody needs that. I think there's other ways to solve problems. And is it a marketing problem? I think it's maybe bigger than a marketing problem. But, I think we're all very worried about where things are going.
Undocumented immigrants and legal immigrants commit crimes at a lower rate than natural-born citizens, one of many points the Democratic Party fails to make. I'm an independent, too. I've never belonged to the party.
I'm just not quite sure what the Democratic Party is doing.
I agree with that.
This is one of the things they're doing. Chris Murphy is trying to do something. And I feel like this is the kind of thing that we should be supporting. We should be calling our own senators. We should be asking them to get on board. This is an opportunity. January 30th offers us a very unique opportunity, and it is about funding, right? And they have very slim margins in the House and the Senate, and they need every single vote.
Abolish ICE is the sort of thing Democrats use to seem moderate. Just as, abolish the police was the best thing to ever happen to Joe Biden in 2020. Look how not liberal I am, folks. And that's exactly what this will serve. You can talk about reforming ICE. The average American is repelled by these cowards. And I think Democrats need to use words like cowards as well. And I'll also just say, not a Democrat, but on the affordability thing, like, inflation was worldwide after COVID. And under Joe Biden, America had the lowest inflation of any developed capitalist nation on earth. And nobody talks about that. Like, Donald Trump pushed a narrative that Americans' prices are so high. And the reality is that our inflation was better than Brazil, Germany, Ireland, run through the list. And the mainstream media was very content to let this lie exist. And we still believe it to this day.
Yeah.
I think generally people feel less and less a sense of agency.
I
So
agree.
this idea that they're going to come out and support Chris Murphy, that just seems so detached from most people's everyday lives.
Literally, why would you say that? I started out the show by saying over 2,000 protests, over 5 million people turned out. I feel like these are the moments where people are like, fucking no, dudes.
Yeah.
This is not how we're going to do it. And I'm going to go out, I'm going to put myself on the line, and I'm going to protest as it is
That's
my
it.
right to do. And so I feel like there's also levels. If you're not out there, one of those 5 million protesting, maybe you're one of the people that is calling your senator about this bill, right? And so there's like ways that we can do this. And I think the idea that the hopelessness is what they want from us.
Yes.
And the hopefulness is the way we counteract.
Yes, and
that's
despair
what
is privilege. You don't get to have despair. Take a day off from the news if you need to, but you don't give in to despair.
Yeah.
No one has a right to. If you can despair and check out, you live in a level of privilege I can't imagine. And as far as these Democrats go, I just want to say Bonnie Watson Coleman's 80 years old, and there she was putting her body in the movement, getting shoved outside this concentration camp in Newark, New Jersey. And now she's 80. She's not going to run for re-election. Neither's Jan Schakowsky. All my favorite 80-year-olds in the Democratic House are not running because the Democratic Party, I don't know what they're doing either per se. I know what individuals are doing, but it's going to be a different ballgame come January of next year because the Democrats who are running right now, first off, the party's going to look different. It's going to look younger. And the Democrats who are talking about working across the aisle with the sane Republicans to try to bring reason, they're not going to win. The Democrats who promise accountability, the Democrats who say, you guys in this administration can loot the Treasury all you want, but law and order returns in January of 2027. And if you vote for us, you are going to see members of this cabinet with their hands on Bibles, on TV, testifying. Those are the ones who are going to clean up in the votes and in the almighty fundraising. So I'm with you. I'm not really sure what the party's doing right now. Chuck Schumer's so angry he almost tore the tassels off his loafers, right? Hakeem Jeffries, that gavel's going to fly into his hands like Thor's hammer, and I hope he's ready for it one way or the other. But again, it'll be a very different Democratic Party. Donald Trump could not save these Republicans in 2018 or 2022. They're trying so hard. They're cheating in Texas 15 months early to rig these midterms, and I don't think it's going to work.
I'm just going to say, I was at an event recently where they were talking about how important it is to actually care about your local government and not just the Senate and
Always
the president.
more important.
And it really is the thing that most of us don't pay that much attention to. I didn't until probably around COVID. A lot of the places where there's stopgaps and real impact on your everyday life is your city council person.
Local.
Right?
Yeah.
And I
Always
think we have
affects
to
you
get
more.
people to care about local because that is actually still a thing.
Wouldn't you agree they are caring this year? I mean, the turnout for these off-year
Oh my
elections
God,
we
it's
saw.
been phenomenal. And also, we have to wrap this up, but I do want to say, and this is again another call to listeners, one of the things I'm trying to do is highlight stuff that's happening on a local front. We talked about in New Mexico, they made childcare free. I think that was in September. In November, in Colorado, they decided to raise taxes on people earning over $300,000 so that they could pay for school lunches and they could shore up the SNAP benefits. And so there are like really tangible, actual public policy measures being taken by states that are good, that are great, that are helpful. And by talking about them, I think it also helps to build our optimism about what we can do and the power that we actually have. And let us not forget that we do have that power.
You're right.
Now, listen, guys, we barreled through these in a way that we can't even do topic number 3. So instead, I want to remind listeners that there's going to be a bonus actually dropping in your feed. And the bonus is about John Fugelsang's new book, The Separation Between Church and Hate. It's so exciting.
I wasn't preaching enough here.
No. We're going to hear more about this book. It's like one of my favorite things I've read in the last, I don't know how many years. So stick around on that bonus. It should drop very soon. I can't remember which day it's going to drop, but it will drop in your feed. And in the meantime, I would love for the people of Fake the Nation to be able to follow you and the wonderful things that you do. Mariam, where do they do that?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn or apparently even TikTok. But the thing I'm going to plug is The Longest Table. As you know, I think we need to know our neighbors, and it is something everybody can do. You can set up a table with your neighbors in a third space and invite everyone, even the people you don't agree with, which is, I think, what we need to go back to.
Yeah, look up The Longest Table on Instagram, too. There's like some beautiful photos. I've been to Longest Table's events, and it's literally people meeting people. It's just neighbors having a chat. People you would never ever meet otherwise, and it's just incredibly uplifting. I've brought my daughter. It's great. You should do it in your own community. It's really inspiring. And Fugelsang, where do they find you?
I'm launching the Children's Table, which is for deeply immature adults who lack the ability to discuss politics like normal people and have to make jokes about it the whole time. I host the primetime programming on SiriusXM Progress every night, 9 to midnight on the East Coast, 6 to 9 on the West Coast. We're also a free podcast called the John Fugelsang Podcast. I have a Substack as well.
Okay.
I'm resisting the urge to call it the Fugel Stack. And my book is called Separation of Church and Hate, A Sane Person's Guide to Taking Back the Bible from Fundamentalists, Fascists, and Flock-Fleecing Frauds. It's for atheists and believers and anyone who's ever going to have to deal with a far right-wing Christian nationalist or fundamentalist in their family, their job, or their government or social media feed.
And folks, you know where to find me and everything that I do. Just a quick mention that I'm going to be doing Wait, Don't Tell Me in Chicago on January 28th. And then again on February 13th, 12th. So if you are in the Chicago area, I would love to see you. It's great to see that show live. Otherwise, I want to thank our wonderful producer, Rob Heath. I want to thank Gabi Alter, who wrote our theme music. You can email us at fakethenationpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to support the show at patreon.com/Negin Farsad. And otherwise, we'll be back in your earballs next week.